All right. Turn with me to 1 Samuel. I know it's Mother's Day, and so the privilege of today is to be able to talk about or minister through the lens of a mother, but not lose the opportunity to minister the word to all of us. 1 Samuel chapter 1, starting with verse 9, it says, "Once after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up early and went to pray. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. And she made this vow, O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime. And as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut." As she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her. Seeing her lips moving, but hearing no sound, that's important, we're going to come back to that. He thought that she had been drinking. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. "Throw away your wine." "Oh, no, sir," she replied. "I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger. But I am very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I'm a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow." "In that case," Eli said, "go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the requests you have asked of him." "Oh, thank you, sir," she exclaimed. Then she went back and began to eat again, and she was no longer sad. Would you just look at your neighbor real quick and just repeat this affirmation, the subject of preaching today? Just look at them and just say, "It's still possible." I need you to get this in your spirit. Look at somebody else and tell them it's still possible. Find one more person and tell them, I don't care what's going on, it's still possible. Father, I pray for anointing that will enable me to make the word speak clearly. I claim the authority to share the gospel this day. In the name of Jesus, amen. Before I jump into the sermon, let me put this footnote out there. You just heard me say how much the house was on the market for. When we take the narrative out, please make sure you say it was not me and Elder's house. I just felt that in the spirit. Somebody saying, "Oh, Elder and Bishop got a $9 million house." That's a lie. That's not our house. I don't know whose house it was, just like y'all rent houses in Nag's Head and everywhere. This is the reason why I said it, because we staying at the house. I don't know whose house it is. We rented it for a week. We have a hookup with the rental company, so we rented it at a favor ain't fair rate. And by the time we got to the convention center, one pastor came up to me and said, "Doc, I need to see the house, man. Somebody told me about how." I'm like, "Bro, that's not my house." You know, so y'all know church folk will take the lie out, and people will be crazy enough to believe it. But so please know it was somebody's house who's able to afford it. It was not ours. It was ours for a week though, because we had rented it. Don't y'all judge me. Don't you judge me. Don't you judge me. Back in 1992, I went on the car lot. Action Oldsmobile, High Street in Portsmouth. There was a white 98, maroon leather inside. Some of the young folks looking at me like, "What's a 98? Okay. Man, it was an Oldsmobile. Clayton is the car guy. It was pearl white, had little glitter in the white. Maroon, icy Norca maroon. Inside, leather. Had a half maroon top. Yeah, see, some of y'all looking like you don't remember when the top was leather. Pastor T, it was half white on the roof and then had a stainless steel piece that went across, and the rest of it, you feel him, it was maroon leather that you would have to armor all down when you were cleaning it. I was new at Mount Lebanon. That was my dream car. I walked around the car 7 times. I said, God, this is my car. This is my car right here. When the salesman went in, I pulled out my little oil, sprinkled some oil on the wheels. I said, in the name of Jesus, this is my car. Test drove it down High Street, past London Oaks, went on down to Victory. Yep, the Oaks, got on Victory, came back around, came through by the Circle Restaurant, double back down London Boulevard and came back to Godwin Street, turned right past the T and rolled back up on Action Oldsmobile's lot. I went in and I told the man, I said, man, I want this. I'll take this. I'll take this. He took me in the little cubicle with the glass up. And we were sitting there. And the guy said, give me your social security number. I said, why do you need my social security number? He said, we got to check your credit. So I said, give me a minute. I stepped back outside and I said, Lord, if there's any way you can cause the computers to go down right now, I need you to let the computers go down. The man is talking about checking my credit. Don't y'all judge me. You see this side judgment. Don't y'all judge me. I said, Lord, I need the computers to go down. The man is talking about checking my credit. And so I went in and I gave him my social security number. He said, man, I'm going to go to work for you. Always watch the car man when he tell you, I'm going to go to work for you. That means he already feels like there's going to be some complications in the deal. He said, I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to make this happen for you. I'm sitting there and I remember walking DJ to the window and I'm standing at the window looking outside at the car. I already knew I was going to get that car. I was going to leave there and go to Advance Auto and buy me the 2 biggest fuzzy dice they ever had in the history of dice and hang them boys from the mirror. I was already practicing my lean. I'm like, boy, I'm going to be leaning. I could hear in the back of my mind, Summertime by Will Smith, you know. Put the wax on it, leave the wax on, and ride through the hood with the wax still on. Y'all too, some of y'all too young to remember that. Nobody told us that it was baking the wax into the paint job, but you would rub the wax on your car and then just cruise. I said, boy, I was standing there in the window. Salesman came back out. He said, Mr. Brown, can we look at a Delta 88? Now, for those of you that don't know, a Delta 88 was like, if you couldn't afford the 98, you'd buy the 88. I said, man, I don't want no Delta 88. He said, well, then you're going to have to find a cosigner. I said, well, man, cosigner. Called my father-in-law up. I was new. Had been married to his daughter a couple of years. I said, Pop, I need some help. I'm down at the car dealership. And the man said, I can get this car if you'll co-sign for me. He said, son, ain't you a preacher? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, you must not have read the Bible. I said, yes, sir. He said, because the Bible tell you don't be co-signing for nobody. So I went back. I'm setting you up. I'm setting you up. I'm setting you up. Look at your neighbor and tell him it's still possible. It's still possible. I need you to get this in somebody's spirit. Look at him and tell him it's still possible. So I got back in my car, drove home, and I was through with God. I said, God, I got to the car dealer. I walked around the car 7 times. 7 is a number of perfection. I sprinkled my oil on the tires. I've been faithful to you. All I asked you for was a car. I said, I'm pastoring your little church down here on Bells Mill Road. I told him that. I did. He should have fired me. I threw some shade at him. I said, I'm pastoring your little church down here on Bells Mill Road, cornfield. Ain't nobody joining it. This is true story. On Sunday morning, it would be like 30 folks in church, and I'd look, and if I saw somebody that wasn't a part of the church, I want to go over and slip them $20 and say, man, when I give the invitation, will you act like you accepting Jesus Christ? I mean, I'm struggling. This is y'all laughing, but don't y'all judge me. This is real talk. Ain't nobody joined the church for a whole year. You preaching the gospel and it's time to do the invitation. Why you gonna do the invitation? You know that's Miss Eason right there. That's Deacon Jones right there. You know everybody in church. Ain't no need to ask nobody, do they want to accept Jesus Christ? It's the same 15 folk that were here last Sunday. And I'm like, God, I'm going to seminary on Friday and I see guys that's chasing every skirt on the campus and they riding up in a 98. And I'm like, God, I'm trying to be faithful. I'm trying to be a good husband. I went down there and you let me get embarrassed. Man gonna come out and tell me you need to start looking at the 88. And then he gonna try to con me like car dealers do. I'm sorry, Clayton. He like, I'm sorry. He said, well, you know the lights are the same on the back. I'm like, man, the lights ain't the same on the back. This ain't no 98. So I'm upset with God. I'm going to get us there, y'all. It's going to be worth it. You're going to see where I'm going in a minute. Flash forward 2 years later. My father-in-law, who would not co-sign for me, calls me up and says, son, I need a favor. A favor? Pop, I asked you for a favor 2 years ago. You told me read my Bible. So have you read the Bible? That's what I wanted to say, but I respected him too much. I said, yes, sir. He said, well, my oldest aunt has died in Lawrenceville, Virginia, and I got to go down there and pack up her house. And can you help me rent a U-Haul and go down there and pack up her stuff? She was a professor at St. Paul College. So I'm riding in the U-Haul. I ain't got no 98. I'm riding in the U-Haul. We get to Lawrenceville. And we're in her house and we're packing up all her furniture and all this kind of stuff. And then we notice she got a garage. We walk around the back. He said, I never knew my aunt had a garage. We pull up the garage door, and under an auto cover is a vehicle. I'm looking at the shape of the cover. He said, I didn't know Auntie had a car. I said, yeah, Auntie had a car. I snatched the cover off, and the first thing I see is it's chromed out, but the chrome has the gold package on it. It says Oldsmobile 98. We pull the cover back and it's white with the speckles in the white paint. We pull it off of the top, and the roof has a maroon leather top going halfway. I open the door, Gabby, and sit inside. It's maroon inside. My father-in-law says to me, son, I don't need another vehicle. Me and your mother-in-law got enough vehicles. He says, so if you can get it started, you drive it home and I'll give it to you. I need about 3 people over here that'll look at somebody and tell them it's still possible. Oh, I wish I had a worshiping church right here. Would you look at somebody and tell them it's still possible? Whatever God has promised you that you might have forgotten about, I need about 8 folks that'll go crazy in here and say, it's still possible. Don't give up on your dream. It's still possible. Boy, I took that U-Haul truck, backed it up to that garage door, got me some jumper cables out, hooked the positive to the positive and the negative to the negative, and that 98 cranked up. That's when I realized, watch this, that my father-in-law's auntie didn't go to but 3 places. She went to her church. She went to St. Paul's College. And she went to the grocery store. So when I cranked it up, Pastor T, although it was 4 years old, it only had 12,000 miles on it. I sat there and said, God, I'm so grateful you didn't let me get the one from Action Oldsmobile, because I'd still be paying a car note. But instead, when God does it, he does exceeding abundantly above. I've come to prophesy over somebody that the dreams that you've forgotten about and the stuff that you ask God about, it's still possible. Hannah is the mother of the day. Nobody knows that Hannah has been asking God for a son. And she's had to endure watching everybody else's dream come to pass while she still has no child. Would you help me preach this real quick? Just reach over and elbow your neighbor and just ask him, what's your Oldsmobile 98? What is it that used to be your dream? What is it that when you stare out of the window, you still see yourself living in? What is it that you believed God for, but your faith began to waver to the point that you're wondering, did I mess up so bad that God gave up on it? Did I abort it? I dare you to elbow somebody and tell them, I've come to declare over you, it's still possible, baby. It's still possible. I got 4 things that I think you need to do, feeling me, daughter, in order for it to manifest. I'm telling you, it's still possible. Can I get y'all on this side to just point at my daughter right there and say, girlfriend, it's still possible. It's still possible. Don't you grow weary in well-doing. Don't you give up on dreaming. Here it is. When you look at the text, the first thing we've got to do to understand it's still possible is display my fortitude. Watch this, Pastor T is right there in verse 7. It's so crazy when we get to verse 7. It says in verse 7 that year after year, it was the same. What you don't know is Peninnah was the woman that had all the children. Hannah is the woman who has been believing for children, but has not been able to have children. And so every year, when they would go to the temple for sacrifice, it says year after year it was the same. Peninnah would taunt Hannah as they went to the tabernacle. Each time, Hannah would be reduced to tears and would not even eat. You know what blesses me in that passage is the first 3 years, the first 3 words, year after year. Okay, y'all missed the turn right there. Year after year. Year after year. You know what I love about Hannah is that although her prayer was not being answered, her worship was not being sacrificed. Although she had not seen the benefit of anything that she asked God to do, she was still going to the sanctuary every Sunday. Do I have about 5 folk in here that'll jump up real quick and tell somebody, even if he doesn't answer this week, I'll be back in here next Sunday. And if he doesn't move next Sunday, I'll double back the Sunday after that. It does not matter what life looks like. I'm going to still bless him. I'm going to still give him glory. I'm going to still acknowledge that he's King of Kings. I need somebody that'll help me push this. I dare you to get up on your feet and say, God, my praise is not predicated on your provision. My praise is predicated on the fact that you're still El Shaddai. You're still Jehovah Jireh. I will bless the Lord when? At all times. Whether I got something in my pocket or not. This is me displaying my fortitude. I tell people all the time, there are 2 people I can't handle. Y'all ready for this? 2 people that work on my last nerve. A liar and a quitter. I hate somebody that lies, and I hate somebody that quits. Life was never promised to be easy. But God said, I promise you I'll be with you always, even unto the end. Is there anybody in here that'll jump up and just declare, I've been through some stuff, but I'm still here. I survived some stuff by the grace of God. I had to cry myself to sleep at night, but I'm still lifting my hand up. There are some folks that walked away, but I'm still believing that God is able to do what he promised me to do. Daughter, you got to display your fortitude. Man, yesterday was an emotional roller coaster because I got to help this family celebrate their mother at 11, and then at 3 o'clock, my cousin's getting married. And I'm like, Lord, let me be able to compartmentalize this emotion that I'm on today. Well, at 3 o'clock, I didn't realize all these guys that grew up with me were going to be at the 3 o'clock wedding. One of them came in, and he said, Kim Brown. He said, man, what is this? I said, man, this used to be our church. I said, now our church is down the street. He said, well, what do you do here? I said, we just shoot hoops here. I said, this is where we do teen ministry down here, an event center. Boy, I had to position myself and go into my office before I could get ready for the vows. Because he said, boy, do you realize how good God has been to you? He said, man, you the Negro that was on the corner with the rest of us, and look at what God has done. I've come to remind somebody in here, as bad as you think it might be, do you know there are folks that would take your hand right now? They wish they lived where you live. They wish they could wear what you wear. They wish they had what you have. Every now and then you got to just let the devil know, it doesn't matter what you bring, I'm still gonna be here. I'm gonna still be here. I'm gonna still be here. I'm gonna still be here. So number one, you gotta display fortitude. But here it is. Number two, this is a good one. This is the best point of the message right here, daughter. Not only do I have to display my fortitude, but I have to document my faith. Okay, see if I can show it to you. It's right there in the text. It's in verse 11. In verse 11, it's so crazy because in verse 11, it says, and she made this vow, O Lord of heaven's army, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. Okay, y'all, Mr. Turn with me. Stop, rewind, and play. What I've learned is when I'm believing that something is still possible, the way I manifest it is to document my faith. It's not enough just to have faith. Sometimes I have to do something that records in heaven what I'm believing for. Now I know I'm at the Mount at Virginia Beach. I know I'm the bishop, but I'm real uncomfortable now because I know how God told me to deal with point 2. And so if it was in Chesapeake, I wouldn't have any issue. But we're in Virginia Beach, and I'm worried about how y'all gonna flow with me. This ain't for me. But how many of you all believe that point 2 is major? You can't just say, I believe. You got to make a statement to God. And when you make the statement to God, it becomes the documentation that God is going to use. Okay, watch this. I got a good illustration for y'all. Watch this, First Lady T. The Mount at Western Branch, well, let me say it another way. The Mount at Chesapeake, through the office of the bishop, allowed the pastor of the Mount at Western Branch to bid on a building. Elder Deneen wins the bid for $1 million. We go to the bank and say to the bank, we got 72 hours to close the loan. The bank says, how in the world can we close a loan in 72 hours? The wife of the bishop says, the caliber of client that we are, you should be able to do this for our church. She says to us, well, we're not accustomed to closing church loans in 72 hours. We say, well, you ain't got to close the whole loan. Just give us the $1 million. do it as a signature loan. You can call it whatever you want to call it. They start moving a little slow. Hour 48, we call the bank and say, now y'all messing around. Y'all moving a little slow. Hour 70, they call and say, we got the paperwork ready. We tell them, we unclosed the deal. The banker said, how did you close the deal? We said, we didn't tell you we needed your million. We just understand that in the times that we live, the interest rate is so low, it makes sense to use your money rather than our money. This is a business transaction. So she calling the church, blowing up the church now, saying, we ready? Can y'all send the trustees over? We said, we got the people working on the deed. She said, so what did y'all do? The elder said, we called the elders board together, and Chesapeake said, we ain't going out like that. Y'all must not understand who we are. We are the Mount Global Fellowship of Churches. So we went on and wrote the check and sent it to the closing company, and we now own the building. Now the bank coming back to me, we want to help y'all. Now watch this. Here's what's so crazy though. This is where the illustration is going. So overnight, we go from being just a church to being a landlord. Elder Deneen bought an office building. The office building has 2 physician practices in it. So half of the building is going to be the Mount Western branch. The other half is going to be 2 doctor's offices. We cutting a brand new opening on the other side of the building so that we don't have to come in through the medical practice. We tell them, y'all can stay. They say, we want to stay. First of the month, we didn't even know we supposed to be collecting rent. We had messed around and forgot. So the rent check comes in. The finance department says, where do we deposit the rent check? I said, oh, wow. Ask the executive pastor. She said, well, the rent check goes to the Mount at Western Branch. But then I asked a question. I said, why did we only get 1 rent check when we got 2 tenants? The second tenant said, we mailed our rent to the previous owner. Boy, I said, the devil is a liar. Then she hit her. She said, we ain't seen no documentation. We've never heard of a church buying an office building. So we need documentation. Y'all just got set up so good. What if heaven hears your request, but when the angels bring it in to the throne room, God saying, I hear you saying they want the new house, but I need documentation. I hear you saying they want to be healed, but I need documentation. That's why Hannah says, Lord, I'm letting you know right now, if you bless me to bring forth a child, you ain't got to worry about him being in Vacation Bible School. He gonna be there. You ain't got to worry about him being in church. He gonna be there. You ain't got to worry about whether he's gonna know who you are. He's gonna be there. Now watch. What if the next 30 seconds is our opportunity to document our faith? What if right now God is saying, what you asked me for 10 years ago, I'm still able to do it and it's still possible. But I'm waiting to see, will the saints document their faith? What if this is your opportunity right now? I'm not talking about just blessing God. What if God tell you, I need you to bring me an offering right now? Document what you're asking me to do. We're going to take about 10 seconds. Take us there real quick. You look at somebody and tell them, this is my opportunity to document my faith. I'm going to be just like Hannah right now. I'm going to make a statement to God that's going to be so clear that God is going to have to start opening up the doors that he thought I had given up on. I don't know who needs to hear it, but let's take 20 seconds and just give God whatever God asks you for right now. Just document your faith. God, I'm still believing. God, I'm still in need. God, I still believe you're able to do it. Come on, Mount at Virginia Beach. Let's put something on it and say we're documenting our faith right now. God, I'm believing you for my healing. God, I'm believing you for my breakthrough. I'm believing that my children will go to college. I'm believing that my marriage will be sustained. I'm believing for the new job. I'm believing for my career. I'm believing for my confidence. I'm believing for my low self-esteem to be dealt with. I'm believing that I'll sleep without needing medication. As you come to the altar, just look at somebody and tell them, I'm documenting my faith. Jesus. Something soft. Oh, Jesus. I need you to get your brother and bring him to the altar, man. God told me it would shift. He didn't tell me it was going to shift like this. See, old folks had such great theology. They would say, you make one step, he'll make two. What I've learned is God hasn't forgotten our dreams. He's been waiting for some of us to move. It's getting ready to get crazier. It's getting ready to get crazier. Watch this. I don't know where we're going, man. It's going to get crazy. You remember the other day on campus? Y'all, I need you to catch this in spirit. So I'm walking across the campus, Norfolk State University. He comes up to me. He says, Bishop, good to see you. He's always so respectful to me. He said, Bishop, I need to be able to go in the cafeteria and get something to eat. I ain't got nothing today. The Lord right there said, give him enough that he can eat whatever he needs to eat. I put it in his hand. And I stepped 5 steps after I gave it to him. I'm telling you, no more than 5 steps. He gone. Tasha, I stepped 5 steps and somebody said, hey, Bishop! I turned around, he said, man, I was watching that. He said, I was watching to see what you were going to do with the young brother. And then he said, take this and put it in your pocket. Now, you know the flesh in me. The flesh in me wanted to check it right then. Just tell the truth, shame the devil. The flesh in me was like, man, what this brother just give you? I got in the car, and I'm like, man, God, I am so glad you sent him. Okay, y'all missing it. I said, God, I'm glad you sent him to me. Now, I know you saying I should be glad for the guy that put something in my pocket. No, I was glad God sent him. Because it was what I gave him that opened the door for what the person gave me. And it was so smooth. I told somebody, I got home and told Elder, I said, if they videotape that, they're going to swear I was on the yard dealing drugs. I said, because you gotta see how it looked. One young brother walk up to me, I put something in his hand, and I just keep walking because I got a meeting. And then coming this way is another young adult who says, I saw what you just did, Bishop. And I walk past him, he doesn't stop. And he just said, give me your hand. And I'm like, I said, man, if I was watching that, I would think it was a drug transaction. I'm believing y'all just document it. God, help me with this. You just documented your faith. Let me finish. We're going to stay right in this vein because I believe God doing something in the spirit. And I'm going to tell you, I know how he told me to end it. So I'm displaying my fortitude. I document my faith. But then thirdly, it's still possible because I demonstrate my fellowship. Okay, here it is. Verse 12. Verse 12. Y'all put verse 12 up for me. It's crazy. As she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her. What I've learned is, y'all ready? That sometimes the reason why God moved slow is not because we've been messed up. It's because, Pastor, he needed enough people watching us. He needed people to see our faithfulness in the midst of not getting the favorable answer. You got me, daughter? And here's the problem. People are watching us and will never let us know. And they'll start to think you in denial. She must be crazy. She's still out there singing on the praise team with all this going on in her life. You don't understand. The praise team is my lifeline to my destiny. I would have blown my brains out if I couldn't come in here and just sing a song. What I didn't realize is there were people who were watching me. Now watch this. Watch this. I think I'm walking in prosperity. I got my dream car. The car that I wanted God to provide, I'm rolling in it now. I don't care that it's 5 years old. Me and God tight now. One of the deacons said to me, the thing that impressed me about you, Bishop, was your humility. I said, what was that? He said that you would drive your father-in-law's aunt's car. He's like, man, when I saw you, because my little girl was in private school, LJ trying to play all this AAU stuff, I couldn't afford the car, so I'm riding in my auntie's car. What I'm thinking is a blessing, he thinking is humility. He like, you got the nerve to be driving your father-in-law's aunt's car. I'm like, bro, that's my dream car. Would you look at somebody and tell them somebody's watching me? Now here's where we're going to leave. And God told me how to do the end. This is going to be so crazy. So it's still possible because I'm displaying my fortitude. I document my faith. I demonstrate my fellowship. But y'all ready? I discipline my feelings. You can't let your feelings rule you in this season, because you'll get mad at God. You'll be like, my daughter's a poster child for this. Went in my daughter's closet one day and she was in there having a moment, and I walked in. I said, baby, you all right? She said, Dad, I'm just counting how many bridesmaid dresses I have. She said, when is it going to be my turn? She said, I've been in everybody else's wedding. I have helped plan everybody else's wedding. Why is God not letting me find my man? What do you say to your daughter when she raises something that you're not capable of fixing? Without sounding cliche, I said, baby, you just keep doing what you're doing. All the time, not knowing they're sitting on the instrument. I knew his family, knew his sister, because they joined the mount at Elizabeth City. All the time. Watch this. I had to get her out of her feelings, because all she kept saying is God punishing me? Has God forgotten me? Why is he answering everybody else's prayer? Did I mess up somewhere? What if you are Hannah? Here's what's so amazing. Read this last verse, and then I got a way God told me to end the sermon. Let's go to 15 and 16. Hannah comes into the presence of God, unanswered prayers, and begins to worship. She worships to the point that Eli thinks she's drunk. In verse 15, she says, "Oh no, sir," she replied, "I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger, but I'm very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I'm a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow." What's so amazing is, I believe it's like verse 14 where it says, her lips were moving, but Eli couldn't hear what she was saying. Pastor Terron, I rocked with this all week coming to the Mount of Virginia Beach. I'm like, her lips are moving, but the people that are there can't hear what she's saying. Her lips are moving, but the people in the tabernacle couldn't hear what she was saying. So I said, "God, is she lip syncing?" He said, "No." He said she was articulating it loud. Because what didn't line up is, she says, "I'm praying out of my anguish." But Eli told me, "I see your lips moving, but I don't hear no sound." I'm like, that don't make sense, because if I'm in anguish, I'm not going. No, if I'm really going through, I'm like, "Lord, I need you to move right now. God, I need you to deal with this. I need you to open this door right now, God." How does he not hear? Because you can reach a place of intimacy with God where that which comes out of your mouth is only registering in the ear of the Spirit. And God promised me this morning that that's what was going to happen in here. Now, this is how he told me to end. He said, "You know what? Y'all been preaching this for hundreds of years, and you miss." He said, "You miss the greatest turn in the text." I said, "God, what is it? Can you go back? I might have, I don't know if y'all capable, but I might put 15 and 16 up. Let me see where I want to go." Okay, 15. Go to 16. Can you go to 16? Okay, can you go to 17? Are y'all capable of going to 17? If not, I can read it on my phone. It's all right. He is 17. I just want them to put it on the screen, because there it is. Thank you. Look at what he says. In 17 now, Eli talks. Don't y'all miss this. In 17, Eli now responds. He says, "Well, in that case, go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the request you have asked of him." Whoa, God. We still missing it. God said, y'all never ever minister that at the end there's a prophetic blessing. That the person who's leading the tabernacle that day says, "Now that I see your faith, I'm going to declare over you that you can go home in peace. Because what you've been asking God for is going to be done." Y'all still just missed it. You still just missed it. You caught it. You caught it. Y'all remember the scripture we always quote over in Philippians? "My God shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory." We don't understand. That's a prophetic pastoral utterance. You got to read the preceding verses to understand it. God help me. He starts talking about, when I was going through, you were the only church that sent some offering to me when I was going through. And then he gets to verse 9 and he says, "And because of that, my God shall supply all your need." Listen to what he says. Not your God, my God. We quote it improperly. This is the pastor talking to the sheep, saying, based upon how you responded to me, I'm now going to use my leverage with God. And I'm going to God and I'm going to say, my God going to take care of your needs now. Y'all ready for this, Virginia Beach? What if Mother Claristine going to be with the Lord was a setup for your destiny? What if she had gone to be with the Lord and the Mount Virginia Beach section yesterday was empty? But instead, it was full. What if the way you responded to your pastor's bereavement yesterday has pushed you into a place where he now has the ability to say, when I was going through, y'all showed up for me, and now because of how you showed up for me, my God shall supply what you need. Y'all still missing it. So let me tell you what God said. He said, son, I used Mother Claristine to get you to the Mount Virginia Beach on Mother's Day. He said, because I'm going to give you a grace that day that's going to allow you to speak a prophetic blessing over at least the mothers that are in that room. Because here's what he says. He says, thank y'all for leaving it up. He says, well, now that you've explained to me, you can go home in peace. May the God of Israel grant the requests that you have documented. So I'm getting ready to decrease. But if you connect it to the word today, if you believe the Spirit of God is in this room, and there's something you've been asking God for, and you had almost given up on the dream, I've come to remind you it's still possible. And if you believe that this is a divine moment, with a divine appointment, with a divine anointing, just press your way right here real quick. I ain't gonna pray, I'm gonna declare. And this is what's so crazy. As I was preparing last night, he said, now, don't get up there when I move and try to make this your moment, because it ain't about you. That's okay, God. Watch this, y'all. Thank you so much. Just leave it right there. Thank you. He said, if it worked for Hannah and Eli in 1 Samuel, it'll work for the Hannahs and the Eli on Mother's Day in 2023. I mean, he gave me last night instruction. He said, you ain't got to get up there and pray. You don't have to get up there and say any of your own words. He said, the words are already recorded. All I need you to do is call them to the altar and then repeat the same words that Eli repeated over Hannah. And at the end, all I need them to do is receive it with praise. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to repeat that statement. And then after that, y'all just give us an opportunity with your instrumentation to receive. You know what's so amazing? Is yesterday. Ooh, God. Hear her, God. Hear her. Hear her. Hear her. Yesterday, I hadn't seen my baby in a month and a half. So yesterday was the first time I really got to see her bump. came through it like a trooper yesterday, but I almost lost it. Because if it wasn't for Chris, there'd be no Kimberly. If it wasn't for Chris, there'd be no Kimberly. And if it wasn't for Kimberly, there'd be no bump. I'm sitting there yesterday, and I'm like, God, this is the child the doctors told me when she was 12 to call the mortician for. I'm on the hospital board, and they come in, they said, Bishop, we at Centera. He says, do you have a mortician? You might want to start thinking about who you're going to call, because we don't anticipate her living through the night. And Friday, she at the OB sending me a sonogram saying, Daddy, that's your grandbaby's feet right there. It's still possible. It's still possible. It's still possible. It ain't gonna be deep, y'all. I'm gonna read the same thing over you that Eli read over Hannah. And then we're gonna seal it with our worship. Is that all right? And I'm gonna go sit down. Verse 17 says, in that case, Bishop said, go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the requests you have asked of him. Once for the Holy Spirit, once for God, once for Jesus. Go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the requests you have asked of him. Last time, and then we're going to worship. Go in peace. May the God of Israel grant the requests you have asked of him. Attention. Come on, let's praise him like Jehovah is standing up in the throne room. Let's praise him like this is a kingdom Oprah moment. You get your answer. You get your answer. You get